Hey, how is everybody doing? So you may have noticed, it has been a while since I posted my first video, because being a movie reviewer is not my full-time job. I do have another job, but I love movies and I love sharing my thoughts, and I would only pop up and post something. If the feeling that I had after viewing the movie is not shared or nobody's sharing a similar feeling, and I feel like by posting how I thought about it, may be able to kind of contribute to this diversity of thoughts on the internet. So that's why I'm saying this today. So I'm talking about Eternals today. I've watched it 3 times by this point. I was lucky enough that because of my work, I was able to get into one of the pre-screening, like one day prior, one day before the earliest screening to the public, and I was blown away. And there's so much that happened in the story in the movie that I feel like I really want to rewatch it. So I went back the next day to kind of join the crowd on Thursday night to watch Eternals, and it's just as great as the first time I watched it, except that I get to kind of notice a lot more nuance and details. I think there were still parts that I don't fully understand. And that's why I wasn't thinking about sharing any of my thoughts because, I love the film, but other than that, I don't really have a lot to contribute. And then today my friend is visiting and staying in the guest room, and I was like, hey, what do you want to do tonight? And he's like, yeah, we don't know. And I was like, how about we go to watch movies? So we went to the movie theater to watch Eternals for the third time. And I just love the film, so I really don't mind watching it for the third time. But surprisingly, I think after watching it, I feel like I have a way better grasp of the story and some of the plot points in the movie. So I think this video is mainly to talk about two things. One thing is just an overall review of the film, and the second part is just one particular point in the story, which is like the ending, when the dreaming celestial, the celestial that's beneath the earth, what happened to the celestial, and what I think happened to the celestial, and how did Cersei pull it off eventually. So in terms of the overall movie review, I do want to say congratulations to Chloe and everybody who worked in that film, because it's an absolutely beautiful film. And by the word beautiful, I don't mean just in terms of the scenery or like the cinematography. It is beautifully executed. The casting is wonderful. You get to see how each of the characters shine, and I think the story is so compact but doesn't feel rushed at the same time, and it has depth, and well, not a lot of depth. I mean, it's a Marvel film after all, but within the constraints of being in Marvel Universe, being an extremely commercial film aiming for commercial success, I think it has a really, good amount of depth, and I think it trusts the intelligence of the audience to be able to appreciate the film. It's not trying to simplify the story and make it more relatable or make it more predictable. I mean, it is full of twists and turns, and it's trusting that the audience is able to get it and understand it and appreciate it. And I guess just in terms of professional movie reviewers, I guess half of them do manage to appreciate the film, which I think is great. There's nothing better than watching a film and feel loving it, and that's what I feel. So yeah, so the movie review is that. I want to talk about what happened to the Celestial and what happened at the end. The first time I was watching it, I'm like, yeah, I guess Cersei has this special secret kind of power that she can not only transform living creatures, she can not only transform like objects, she can also manipulate living creatures or organs, and somehow she was able to collect everybody and kind of gather everybody's power and froze so that the Celestial, I think it's called Tiamut, I'm not sure. Yeah, so that was my thought after the first two times watching it. But the third time, I think I have a better understanding now. So first of all, what happened to the Celestial? It is killed, and that is confirmed in the scene after the final battle where Cersei and Kingo were sending Sprite off to school, and Cersei was telling Kingo, I'm still not sure if I made the right decision killing the Celestial. I think that's what she said. I mean, we'll know if it's on Disney Plus in a couple of months, but that's what I remembered. And they're talking about like the Celestial being sacrificed. So I think both are confirming that the Celestial is indeed dead. So how did it happen? How did Cersei pull it off? I think the basis of her killing the Celestial is she is able to not only just turn objects into living creatures, such as turning the rock into birds or turning the deviant into a tree. Oh, sorry. So yeah, she was not only able to turn like things like stones into birds, she's also able to turn living creatures into kind of motionless objects, such as turning the deviant into trees and turning Celestial into a marble stone. But you can see when she was just exercising her power in the beginning, it was the growth, the impact was having an impact. She was having an impact, but the impact was smaller. It was kind of like this small area that's like turning into stone gradually. And then when Icarus tried to interrupt her and was essentially moved by his love for her, she was able to gather everybody's power, including the Celestial, and kind of was able to stop the Celestial from bursting out of Earth. So I want to talk about what happened there. I think eventually all of them was willingly giving their power to Cersei to pull it off. And that's one thing that I wasn't sure, but I am sure now. I mean, all the other members, Cena, everybody else, is already willing to save the Earth. So I guess the two person that I had problem is Sprite and Icarus. And Sprite, I think that the scene where she stabs Cersei and she starts explaining why she wants the world to end is the moment that she also herself realizing that she loved this earth so much, you know. And she was deeply moved by what happened, but what can happen to human beings, which is love, which is be loved, which is having a family and building connection with people. And she, being a child, being kind of trapped in a child's body, she forever doesn't have that opportunity to experience things that a normal human being would experience. And because she loved the earth the human experience so much, she instead turned resentful towards the earth existing, because what's the point of it existing since she can't have all this wonderful human experiences. So essentially she recognized her love for humans on earth, and that is why she's also part of this uni mind, but I guess it's not the uni mind thing, it's the uni power thing, where she's also contributing her power to Cersei. And then for Icarus, he eventually has to confront the difficulty, the dilemma of either killing Cersei and being, and being loyal to Arishan the judge, or giving in to his feelings for Cersei, but also resulting in kind of failing Arishan's wish, which I think is a big part of him, is becoming loyal and becoming a good soldier to Arishan. And finally, he recognized his love to Cersei. And I think one part is they were doing those like reflex of, the scenes where he and Cersei and their history. And you see that at the beginning of the scenes were just he and Cersei holding hands, playing around. And the last scene wasn't he having any physical interaction with Cersei. It was he watching Cersei getting braided by little girls. And I think what he's saying is he loves Cersei so much, and he understands that Cersei loves humans, the human being on Earth. So because he loves her so much, he's willing to protect humans as well. And he's ironically, it's kind of related to Angelina Jolie's character's Cena's what she is saying. What she was saying was, if you love something, you want to protect it. That's like the most unnatural thing. And for Icarus, he loves Cersei, and Cersei loves human. And because of that, he's able to, I think that's the quote from the director, which literally explains this, which is he's able to see the wonderful human. He's able to love humans through Cersei, and through his love for Cersei, if that makes any sense. So I'm just talking about the scene where he's like thinking back on all the time he had with Cersei, and that and the way they cut it really implies that, the fact that he loves Cersei is the reason he chose to be disloyal, but save the human being. So eventually all of them were willingly giving their power to Cersei to amplify her power and turn the celestial into a stone. And another party that's really involved is the celestial. You know, after the celestial turned into stone, they were having a mini discussion, and I think they were talking about, oh, I think, who was it? It was the I forgot who, but one of the character was saying even Icarus and Sprite joined their uni kind of power. So that really says that, you know, they do willingly join this this union of power to stop the celestial from being being burst out of the shell of the earth. And another thing is, Cersei was talking about, she felt she was able to draw power, and she was able to feel the celestial. So not only did Sprite and Icarus was giving their power to slaughter the celestial was also, I guess that wasn't explicitly said, but I think by connecting with the Eternals have the ability to connect with the Celestials. That was confirmed when they were saying that, you know, all the previous missions they survived because they were able to connect with Celestial. So they have always have the ability to connect with the Celestial. But this time, Cersei's love for human is so strong that it really, I think my understanding is, it moved the Celestial. So not only the members in Eternals come to this consensus of stopping the Celestial, even the Celestial himself or herself, itself, was touched and is willing to kill himself to prevent, you know, all the humans from being eradicated on Earth. Yeah, so I that was my interpretation of what happened at the end. I don't know if it makes sense to you guys, but feel free to share your thoughts as well. I think overall, it is a very different superhero film. I would say, you know, I mean, it's very different in terms of the color and, you know, the sexual orientation, and the gender. I mean, that's great, and those are also very easy to tell and very shallow, if I may say. I think deep down, Chloe was able to pull off a different superhero film, also in the sense that, you know, the protagonist, the lead, which is Gemma, was essentially using her love and her passion to stop, to kind of defeat the enemy, if we are kind of following this traditional framework. And it wasn't really an action scene. It was entirely that it was a lot more visceral than action or you know, or some small smart plot that was able to defeat the enemy. Like, it wasn't that, it was purely her affection for humans that was able to move everyone and save the human in the end. And I think it's very challenging to show that, you know, the film, you know, that's you know, essentially made to be a commercial success, because that's a way more subtle kind of way of defeating the enemy than a lot of other films. But I think Chloe pulled it off beautifully, and I'm really happy that this film exists. And yeah, it's the best film that I watched in 2021, but you know, always I'm open to watching other great new films. So thank you for checking out my video.